How's it going, everybody? We're going to conservatively say 11:30 on Sunday morning, November the 17th. We're on Ban List Eve 2019. And this is Riding in Cars with Cards. This is the show where I'm talking about cards, decks, formats, snapshots in time, specific things to try to apply the lessons that we learn every week on Homeward Path. Now, previously I had been doing these in reverse order. I had been doing the lesson, like I had been doing the demonstration before I did the lesson. I'm changing that up now. We are going to be doing the demonstration after the lesson from here on in. Makes it a little bit easier on me. Makes it easier to figure out what I want to talk about. So, when it comes to breaking out of a slump, one of the things I mentioned was working on something less for the competitive design of it, less for the competitive aspirations, and more for fun. Well, nothing right now is more fun than brewing in Pioneer. Don't at me. Fight's over. There's nothing that evokes that feeling of nostalgia like that first time you sat down with your cards and wanted to make something brand new than brewing in Pioneer. And the other thing I mentioned was helping out other people. Well, Brett still doesn't know what he wants to play in Pioneer, so we set out to work on something together. And where we're at right now, we're at a little bit of a crossroads on the deck, but the concept is something I think everybody would benefit from. From the sheer fun perspective, the idea of like doing things you don't normally do in games of Magic. How does getting 3 combat phases sound? Because that sounds like a blast to me. I don't know about you. That sounds pretty stellar. So that's where we wanted to start. God Pharaoh's Gift is still one of the most underexplored archetypes in this format. Partially because it's not as powerful as a few of the other things you could be doing if you're working your way into combo territory. I'm not going to dispute that. This is at its absolute best a turn 4 deck. You know, buying in at your absolute most, like to the exclusion of doing anything else in your deck, trying to make the combos linear as possible, you're still basically a turn 4 deck. And that's okay. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It just kind of looks foolish up against decks like Phoenix or Marvel or Jeskai Ascendancy, or, you know, these decks that can just kill you on turn 3 sometimes, or create this insurmountable board state like the various forms of the Dredge deck do. So why would we want to play God Pharaoh's Gift? Well, there's actually an underlying competitive reason. If Phoenix is one of the most popular decks, and you want to have some amount of legs against Phoenix, you want to have some amount of legs against Collected Company builds, you want to have some amount of legs against backbreaking aftermath spells, creatures that come out of the graveyard, the weird little Dredge decks. Like, if you want to be able to put yourself in a position to be able to handle most of that, like, all the time, and it's also, a convenient little out to Experimental Frenzy, you probably want to play Grafdigger's Cage. Well, here's the fun thing about Grafdigger's Cage. It doesn't do anything to God Pharaoh's Gift. It's a literal 1-mana blank piece of cardboard against God Pharaoh's Gift. Like, it's so worthless against God Pharaoh's Gift, we want to play it in our sideboard. That's how bad it is against us. We want it against the decks that are less fair than us. Put that in perspective for a minute. So that's where I wanted to start. I wanted to start with a deck that has that little tinge of unfair to it, that does something that wins in a way that I never get to experience in any other deck or format, and does it in a way that is really kind of cool, unique, and fun. Is it the best version of a graveyard combo deck? Oh my heavens, no. Is it going to be some of the most good, clean fun you've had in a long time? Yes, it is. That was my head. That was my head nodding. That was not the car shaking some more. I know there's a little bit of confusion there. So let's dive into the archetype and let's see what we like. For starters, we have the namesake, the engine, the card that the deck is designed around, God Pharaoh's Gift. God Pharaoh's Gift is a card that kind of gets misrepresented in how it's played. Because I can't tell you the number of lists I've seen, the number of streams I've seen that want to treat the card as a value engine. It's not a value engine in Pioneer. Because Oko Thief of Crowns exists, Smash to Smithereens, Abrade, Back to Nature. All these cards exist that will blow it out of the water. Even something as innocuous as a Void Snare really sets you back if you want to untap with it more than once. So, for all the benefits it has as a value engine, being able to bring back eternalized creatures and enter the battlefield effects, or, little niche applications like that, cards like Angel of Invention from the original days, that's not where I'm thinking right now. Where I'm looking right now is the combo. The combo being 2 extra combat phases and another creature. And you get that by way of either Combat Celebrant or Aurelia the War Leader. Combat Celebrant is the one that introduced me to the concept, and it's the one that I'm looking to play because it's the one that's the least embarrassing to have to hardcast. Like, it only costs 3. And it's easier on your mana. 2 in a red is a lot easier on your mana than 2 RRWW. But there's benefits to either. Combat Celebrant obviously does not hold up well in combat without those extra 3 points of toughness from the gift. There's no disputing that. And Aurelia is a little bit less embarrassing to cast as an actual beater. Like, the card is just reasonable. Especially if you've already built a board and you just need to close it out. Aurelia comes down, has haste, you smash again, they're dead. But in the context of this deck, it's a little bit different. Because in the context of this deck, they're both 4/4s. For free, out of the graveyard. Now, the reason that God Pharaoh's Gift works under Grafdigger's Cage is because you exile the creature and then make a token that's a copy of it. You don't revive the creature and then set its power and toughness to 4/4. You exile the creature and create a token that's a copy of it. Very important distinction because of Grafdigger's Cage. And because of cards like Silent Gravestone that say cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. So God Pharaoh's Gift doesn't target. You just, at the beginning of combat, exile a creature and then you make a 4/4 that's a copy of it. You don't target. Also an important distinction. Which means, little surgical cards, like, you can still get value out of it even if your opponent's playing a card like Scavenging Ooze, for example. You can still get value out of your gift. Even if it's not killing your opponent, the gift can still churn and keep giving. But the combo is to assemble 2 cards that give you extra combat phases and any other creature. And the any other creature is the easiest part to assemble, obviously. And one of the key cards in either version of the deck we're looking to play is going to be Insolent Neonate. Because it can help you get either the God Pharaoh's Gift into the graveyard for one of the builds, or just get enough creatures into the graveyard for the other. It itself provides the extra creature body. It digs a little deeper, it gets stuff out of your hand. It gives you a creature death on the battlefield if you're interested in Gate to the Afterlife. Just all around a fantastic Magic card. Another helpful piece of technology for either version of the deck is Vizier of Many Faces, because Vizier of Many Faces allows you to kind of hard cast your combo the long way. You can curve Combat Celebrant into Vizier of Many Faces, copying it into, attack, exert, get them, hopefully. And then if it dies, it represents value in the graveyard even without a gift. It can embalm itself, which will exile it and bring it back as an exact copy of itself, but a white zombie token. So, why are we going to all this trouble? Because again, if you assemble 2 extra combat phases and any other creature, you're counting to 24. That's the math. You're counting to 20 by way of 4s. You need to get in 5 hits of 4 damage. Either, 2 combat celebrants, a combat celebrant and Aurelia, a combat celebrant plus a vizier, copying combat celebrant, plus any other creature, that gets you there. Notably, the God-Pharaoh's Gift gives the tokens you make haste. So you go swing, untap, and then God-Pharaoh's Gift triggers at the beginning of combat. So you get another Eternalize. You Eternalize another combat phase generator. Attack. You're getting in for 8 now. That's 12. Get an extra combat phase. And even if you don't bring anything back, you've dealt 12. Now you've got 8 that's lethal. But you bring back another one for insurance purposes. In case of chump blockers, in case of fire, break glass, etc., cliche, all that jazz. So the 2 builds we're looking at are pretty straightforward. The first is very, very linear, and it's Jeskai. Jeskai Gift is going to be interested in the combo and nothing else. You have no backup plan. You have no value mid-range game to fall back on. You have no natural curve out to kill your opponent that isn't at least a little embarrassing. Instead, you are laser focused on setting up exactly what you want in the graveyard. This version of the deck does not want Gate to the Afterlife. I want to say that again. The Jeskai Gift version does not want Gate. You want Refurbish. Because Refurbish, if you can get a God-Pharaoh's Gift into the graveyard, is always live on turn 4. Whereas Gate to the Afterlife, you can cast it on turn 3, and then you have to go through some hoops to make sure it's a live card on turn 4. Whether that ends up being something like casting a Walking Ballista for 0 in order to get a trigger and add another creature into the graveyard, or casting a Neonate, casting something like a Merfolk Secret Keeper. Gate to the Afterlife is really hard to make sure it's on by turn 4 without running the risk of milling it. And that's a risk I'm not willing to take, frankly. So the Jeskai version is all in on the Refurbish plan. We want to assemble the specific pieces we want in the graveyard through cards like Neonate, Izzet Charm, Chart of Course, Champion of Wits, the real old-fashioned way, a whole lot of draw and discard. And we want to assemble the correct pieces in the bin. And then we want to get them out. We want turn 4. Turn 4 is reserved for Refurbish, Gift, kill you. Or if I don't kill you, I'm going to leave you so close to dead that it's almost not going to matter what you do. If the idea behind either version of the deck is that you don't want to have to untap with Gift to kill your opponent. Oko existing in the format, Abrade, Smash to Smithereens, Void Snare, these are all cards that make it difficult to justify building around God-Pharaoh's Gift in a fair way. So we're not going to try. We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it where if we get it, it kills you. And that brings us to the quote backup plan for Jeskai Gift, which is it doesn't exist. We just really want to do the Refurbish thing. So we go all in on it. We maximize. We play redundancies. We play. Teferi Time Raveler does a good job of protecting the combo because it keeps our opponent from interacting with it. A little bit of removal goes a long way. But for the most part, we're a Champion of Wits. Our value package, our don't die to fizzle package is kind of embarrassing. We really don't want to refurbish a gift on turn 4 to use on a Champion of Wits. We will. We absolutely will, but that's not what we want to do. You know, we're not interested in stuff like Angel of Invention. We're not interested in stuff like oh Lord, what am I trying to think of here? You know, Siege Gang Commander, those little nickel and dime kind of cards. No, we're here to kill you, especially like to the exclusion of functionality otherwise in Jeskai Gift. The idea is to be as optimized, as linear, as straightforward as possible, and just hope to heavens they don't have it. Like they don't have the out. Whether that out is surgically removing the card you were going to revive to start the chain to kill them, which can be a little bit embarrassing. Like if you get the double, you get, you know, Celebrant, Vizier, Neonate in the graveyard, and your opponent just scavenging oozes the combat celebrant. You're going to have a bad time. Because now you got to do like the embarrassing thing where you go like, bring back Neonate, attack for 4 past turn because Vizier doesn't have any good targets. Like, that's not where we want to be. So, with that in mind, the other version of the deck is the one that I'm really kind of working on the hardest, and that is Temur. Now, because we lose access to white, we lose access to Refurbish, which means we are a Gate to the Afterlife deck in this show. We can't do it any other way. Like, hard casting Gift is obviously embarrassing, but getting it for the sum total of 5 mana, maybe even just the actual total of 5 mana on turn 5, that's not as embarrassing as it sounds. There's a little bit of setup work that has to go into it. And rather than buy in on stuff like Glowspore Shaman, Stitcher's Supplier, Satyr Wayfinder, the way the Jim Davis Golgari Gift deck did, and then trying to just get Gate to the Afterlife down, activated, and go crazy after, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure I don't mill Gate to the Afterlife. Temur helps with that a lot, because Vessel of Nascency can make sure you don't mill. You can put a bunch of stuff in the graveyard, but you can snag the gate first. Similarly, the Explore creatures do not mill Gate to the Afterlife if you don't want them to. That's important. Not milling the card that gets your win condition is kind of important, and can sometimes leave you stranded without a way to win the game. We don't want to do that here. So, you know, buying in on that line, being able to get Gate to the Afterlife online while presenting a little bit of pressure on the board is kind of a big deal. You know, if we just curve out turn 2 Wild Growth Walker, turn 3 Jade Light Ranger, turn 4 double Explore creature, our opponent's got to do something about that. Like, there's not a debate there. They have to do something. Or we go like, you know, turn 1 Vessel, turn 2 Walker, turn 3 Ranger, turn 4, activate Vessel, find Branch Walker. And then, you know, if we've milled everything accordingly, we're there. We're good to go. So, end of the day, that's what we're in for. And then the benefit to going Temur versus going Jeskai is we have a less embarrassing backup plan. One, our combo becomes more redundant because we have Kalonian Hydra or God Eternal Ronus as additional ways to add to count to 20. Kalonian Hydra can also just count to 12 by itself. For those of you who don't know, it's a 5-drop 0/0, enters the battlefield with 4+1/+1 counters on it. It has trample, and when it attacks, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So it eternalizes as a 4/4, gets 4 counters on it, making it an 8/8. It has haste, so you attack and you double the number of counters on it, which makes it a 12/12 with trample alongside, for example, let's say for the sake of argument, we got a Combat Celebrant first. Well, you mush for 4, get an extra combat phase, bring back the Hydra, 16 you, kill you. That seems fine. Like, that seems totally defensible. Failing that, we have got Eternal Ronus, who is also just fantastic. Because you get back a Celebrant, get back a Aurelia, whatever. It's a 4/4. and then you buy back Ronus in the second combat phase, doubling the power and toughness of all of your creatures. Attack for 16. Get them dead. Cap us. So, when we're talking about Godfarer's Gift, like, I think it's in a really good place. It's a deck that wins in a way that is kind of out of nowhere. It dodges some of the most commonly played sideboard hate that you would think would beat it. And in turn, it can actually play the sideboard hate that beats the other graveyard decks. Like, you can play Grafdigger's Cage and Silent Gravestone here. And Silent Gravestone actually becomes a little bit of a necessity if you're worried about Scavenging Ooze and Scarab God. Because now they can't target the creatures in the graveyard. So, end of the day, top to bottom, I think it's one of the more interesting picks. And that's why we're working on it. So if you heard this, you like it, you want to try it, let me know. Comments down below on Twitter at HomewardPathMTG. On Facebook, my name is Adam Spain. Check out the network at constructedcriticism.com. They're the reason that we do this. They're the reason that I have a place to do this. So do them a favor, check that out. And I will catch you next week, Thursday, on our trip down the Homeward Path. Take it easy, everybody.